We're live. Okay. Yeah. All right. I gotta stop looking at my phone for like 5 minutes. I'm gonna wait till 6 o'clock. Let's see how many people are here. Bum, 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 ba-dum, bum, ba-dum, ba-dum, bum, 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 ba-dum, bum, ba-dum. Do-do-do. 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 I wish I could play music during this. Might end up getting a Monster Cat or yeah, maybe Monster Cat or something. It's just these royalty-free streaming services do not include hip hop music, and like only hip hop music I listen to is the mainstream stuff, so it's not gonna matter to me anyway. But background music is nice to have. But you know, I plan on re-uploading this video to YouTube, so probably wouldn't be in my best interest to put any music behind it. That wouldn't be good for my sake, I guess. How did my last video go? One view, no problem. One view is better than no views. Wondering if I can stream PC Overwatch with OBS here. Hello, welcome. Someone is here. All right, I will wait a couple more minutes, maybe until 6:05. Hopefully, more people show up. If not, it's okay. We're gonna get started. We're on chapter 4. We're gonna start building the website out, and we're gonna use Pug, which is just HTML generator, and yep, we're gonna see how the very start of the design of the website looks like. We're basically in the prototyping phase, and we're gonna. I guess by the end of this, we're actually gonna be passing data from controllers to views, which is pretty awesome because that's a pretty big step. I wonder what chapter 5 is about. That means this chapter is gonna be pretty intense in terms of, or by comparison, to our other chapters. So this is probably gonna take a little longer to get through. You see how fast we got to chapter 4, but chapter 4 is where it starts to slow down a little bit. So here, lots of content. Yeah, we go right into MongoDB in chapter 5. So chapter 4 is gonna have quite a lot of detail in it. Close that too. Just wait a little longer. Hope more people show up. But in the meanwhile, how are you doing? How are you holding up? Because the world is on fire right now, and, it's good to check in, make sure everyone's doing all right. I'm alive. Can't complain about being alive, so there's that. But yeah, I normally advertise my live stream to my friends and everything and family on Facebook and Twitter but I really didn't feel like advertising it this time. I don't know. Honestly, my whole energy is just not even here this week. Like Sunday, I didn't even finish my 4 hour stream. I was only an hour and a half in. I did the full 4 hours for Saturday, but Sunday I did not. Because I don't know what was happening with my internet connection, but I kept getting booted from Overwatch's servers. And when my stream cut, I was just like, you know what? I don't even have the effort to start this again. So I ended up just quitting. I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna leave this alone. Sure. The information in this stream is kind of complex. Looks like you're the only one here. So I still want to wait a little longer to see if someone else joins. If not, maybe I'll continue doing it anyway. I don't know. Usually the turnout for these things is pretty decent, so. But doesn't seem to be anyone in here. So I guess I'll get started. Only thing I can imagine to do right now. And if I'm not feeling it and nobody joins, maybe I'll just cut it early and cut it at like 7 or 6:30, 6:45. Okay. All right. So, Chapter 4, Building a Static Site with Node and Express. This chapter covers prototyping an application by building a static version, defining routes for application URLs, creating views in Express by using Pug and Bootstrap, using controllers in Express to tie routes to views, passing data from controllers to views. By the end of chapter 3, yeah, I can see you. I can see you. No, I don't know how to respond on there. I'm not gonna, call you out or anything, but I mean, I know who you are, you know who you are. I mean, you know who I am, so I mean, we can talk offline. But thank you. I can see you. Yes. All right. So, by the end of chapter 3, you should have had an Express application running, set up in an MVC way, which stands for Model View Controller Way, with Bootstrap included to help with building page layouts. So basically, up until, yeah, I know you can hear me. I mean, it's good that you can hear me. I mean, I'd hope that you guys can hear me, right? Anyway, let's continue here, all right? So basically, we just laid all the groundwork that needed to be done to actually start building our site. So we have something very basic working, and we can take a look at that. And we also, what we did is we also uploaded it to Heroku, which is, they have a free tier of hosting available on there, which is very nice for development purposes and just learning when you start creating your own website. So this is very basic, but this is our start, and so we have some routes and stuff set up, but we're going to develop that more a little bit into the stream. So Um. Oh, I didn't know you can look at people who are watching. That is wild. I'd expect to see the view count. I don't see the view count there, but it's all good. All right, by the end of chapter 3, you should have had an Express application running, set up in an MVC way, with Bootstrap included to help with building page layouts. Your next step is building on this base, creating a static site that you can click through. This step is critical in putting together any site or application. Even if you've been given a design or some wireframes to work from, there's no substitute for rapidly creating a realistic prototype that you can use in the browser. Something always comes to light in terms of layout or usability that you hadn't noticed before. From this static prototype, you'll take the data out from the views and put it into the controllers. By the end of this chapter, you'll have intelligent views that can display data passed to them and controllers passing hard-coded data to the views. Getting the source code. If you haven't yet built the application from chapter 3, you can get the code from the chapter 3 branch on GitHub. In a fresh folder in Terminal, enter the following commands to clone it and install the npm module dependencies. So this is literally just 4 simple steps for you to get working on what's currently here and where we're at in this chapter at this point. So if you want any of the code, I also have a Google Drive with my copy of the existing code. It shouldn't be that much different from what you can get from this branch, but you can go and clone the Git repository to get the examples from the book and use npm install after you've got it downloaded. But you can also visit the Google Drive link that I set up. It should be in the info or about section on this stream. Okay, so in terms of building up the application architecture, this chapter focuses on the Express application as shown in... So this is the part of the architecture we're going to be building out in this chapter. Later on in chapters 8 and 9 and 10, we'll be doing this portion. In chapters 5 and 6, I believe, we'll be doing this portion. So, or actually, well, the databases in chapter 5, I guess, APIs, and actually, no, well, we'll get to it, but I'm pretty sure they're around 5 and 6, these 2 topics here. Okay, so again, steps to get the current working branch, current working code, and defining routes in Express. In chapter 2, you plan the application and decide on the 4 pages you're going to build. You have a collection of location pages and page in the others collection as shown in figure 4.2. So this gives an example of what our pages are going to look like just from a high level view. And it helps us also determine what the routing is going to end up looking like too. And so we set the URL paths as well. This is our URL path for the following pages, or collections they call them, because later on, as you'll see in Mongo database, we refer to, I guess, a document or a group of data as a collection. When somebody visits a home page, for example, you want to show them a list of places. But when somebody visits the About URL path, you want to show them information about Locator. Okay, in chapter 3, you moved any sense of controller logic out of the route definitions and into an external file. Looking to the future, you know that your application will grow and you don't want to have all the controllers in one file. A logical starting point for splitting them up is dividing them by collections. Looking at the collections you've decided on, you decided to split the controllers into locations and others. To see how this approach might work from a file architecture point of view, you can sketch something like figure 4.3. Here, the application includes the route files, which in turn includes multiple controller files, each named according to the relevant collection. All right, so 2 different collections, right? Others is probably going to have to do with the About page, and locations will be all things locations related. We're going to kind of skip ahead a little bit because this is kind of boring, and we want to start writing code. So let me see here, acquiring controller files. So this is an action item here, right? In routes index.js, right? Routes index.js. And we have, what do they have us do here? Control locations and control others. So we're creating these right now, but I don't believe we've created the actual controllers yet. But we're creating the routes for them right now, is what they're having us do. Okay, so what? for controllers. Locations. As you can see, the only thing that's in controllers right now is main.js. We do not have a locations file in there, but they're going to have us make that later on. Control others equals require controller. Oh, new. I spelled that right? And others, and that's what we have here. Okay, now you have two variables that you can reference in the route definitions containing different collections of routes. Let me make sure I didn't actually skip over the creation of these two files, because that would suck. You want to reference two controller files in this routes file. You haven't created these controller files yet. Okay, just wanted to confirm that. So we haven't created them yet. Okay, now you have two variables that you can reference in the route definitions containing different collections of routes. All right. In index.js, you need to have the routes for the three screens in the locations collection and the about page in the others collection. Each route will also need a reference to a controller. Remember that routes serve as a mapping service, taking the URL of an incoming request and mapping it to a specific piece of application functionality. From table 4.1, you already know which paths you want to map, so you need to put everything together into the routes index.js file. What you need to have in this file is shown in entirety in the following listing. Okay, so we're looking at, these are the routes that we're going to be creating for retrieving the pages, and these are going to be specific to the controllers that we just created, right? So from control locations, we're getting the home list, location info, and add review. And at the same time, we're also, the first parameter is setting the actual URL for those GET requests, right? For those specific pages. So the first parameter is the URL that is going to be requested at, and then the second parameter is the actual controller file where that functionality is going to be available through that page. All right, so let's go do that. Let's do before I do that, I'll do control locations dot, what's that, home list, location info. Yeah, home list is the first one. And the reason why you see I'm not copying and pasting it is because I truly believe the best way to learn something is by doing it. And I don't think I would really be able to grasp the information as well if I didn't type it out myself. And my first run through this book, and I haven't finished the book, by the way. I got stuck around chapter 9 or 8 or something, but my first run through the book, I wrote down all the code examples and I just followed them by hand instead of just copying and pasting everything. So highly recommended. Okay, and by the way, you can get a copy of the book through a link also on my Twitch channel. But also, if you don't want to buy the book, completely understandable. The content's free here, basically. I'm just going through it. All right, so router.get, and I did ask Manning Publications for permission, which is how I got the book affiliation of whether or not I can actually use the content in this way. So I didn't want to run into issues after starting something like this. But yeah, control locations dot add review. All right, and these are just functions from those controller files that we're going to end up creating. So we've created the routing for control locations. They're going to have us create the routing for control others as well. So, oh, actually, home list is the page. It's a home page. This should be home list. What did I do? Oh, hold up. And location info is this one. Oh, I probably need to capitalize that. Camel case. Yep. Okay, so we've done that, and we can change this to location pages. Locations pages, yep. Ah, here we go. Okay. And we'll create another comment here. I wonder if there's a shortcut for creating comments. Maybe a button that I don't know of. Or look, it does it on its own. Okay. Auto completes. And so next one is other pages. Right? And then we're going to do the same thing. Router dot get, but for this other kind of page that we're creating, we want to have about be the URL, and then it will be control others dot what dot about, right? Yes. Okay. Save that, and that's it. That's how we set up basically the routing that's going to take place for our new pages. And they're probably going to have us make the actual controllers next. So building basic controllers, yep. That's exactly what we're going to do. At this point, you'll keep the controllers basic so that your application will run. And you can test the URLs and routing. Setting up controllers. You currently have one file, the main.js file, in the controllers folder. In the app server folder, which has a single function that's controlling the home page. This function is shown in the following code snippet. All right, this is just telling us what we have already existing. You don't want a main controller file anymore, but you can use this one as a template. Start by renaming this file others.js. So we're going to go name that one now. We're going to go to controllers, and main.js is going to get renamed to others, or other, sorry, right? Did I get that right? Other? Where was I just now? Others, yep. Yes. Hold up. We're going to have to fix something. They're going to have us fix it anyway. You don't have to let the system auto fix it. But we'll get to that. I'm sure they're going to have us look at it. Okay. Recall from listing 4.2 that you want one controller in others.js called about. Rename the existing index controller about. Keep the same view template for now and update the title property to something relevant. This approach makes it easy to test whether the route is working as expected. The following listing shows the full content of the others.js controller file after these little changes. Alright, so we're just going to change the title to about, and we're also going to export this as about instead of index. So this is going to be about. We rename the function about. And we make the title now the about page title. And save. And I guess we're getting rid of main, but let's wait till they actually tell us to do that, because or let's just get rid of it, actually. Let's get rid of it now. Actually, there's an error because there's a semicolon there, I think, right? Is that why it was yelling at me? Why are you yelling at me, buddy? Contains emphasized items, controllers, app server controllers. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, we'll get to it. I'm sure they'll point it out. Next controller about, keep the same view template. Yep. And I don't have a comment there anyway, so it doesn't matter. Still won't work as there aren't any controllers for locations routes yet. Adding the controllers for the locations routes is going to be pretty much the same process. In the routes file, you specify the name of the controller file to look for and the name of the 3 controller functions. In the controllers folder, create a file called locations.js and create and export 3 basic controller functions: home list, location info, and add review. The following listing shows how the file should look. So we create a locations controller file, so it'll be locations.js in the controller folder. And then this is what we're filling it with. So here I actually might copy and paste because that seems like, yeah. Or actually, you know what? We'll write the whole thing out. It doesn't matter. Let's see. Locations.js const home list and equals. Yeah, we'll write it out. I think it's better. I'm just being lazy. That's why I was getting ready to just copy and paste it. Res render. Doot, doot, doot. And title. Is it like this? I'm not sure. Hold up. No, it's the other way around. Yes, because this is object notation. And so there's a variable in here, title, the name home. Okay, and semicolon. And now we do the same thing with the other one. Gotta be careful for those misspellings. Say we'll come back to haunt you. And the semicolons. There we go. Location info. And this command response.render or res.render, maybe it all it does is the first parameter is the view that you want to load. So this is the name of it without having to put the file extension. You don't have to put .pug, it already knows. And then the second parameter or second argument that's being passed in is the data that you want the page that you're loading to be able to access. So when we load index, it will use whatever data is in here. And so for now, the only data in here is the title variable here and what's assigned to the title variable. So depending on which page gets loaded or which route we end up going to, it's only going to be passing the data to that same page. So all of the views are the same, but you're going to see that they're going to have different titles because this different data that changes from each route is going to be what gets passed into index. And index will simply just reference title, and whatever current route it is will depend on what title comes up, whether it be the home page, location info page, or the ad review page. That's all that's going on here. And here we have index, and we're gonna have title, location, hold up, location info. And you're going to see later on we can put a lot more data to be passed into these views. It should be later on in this chapter. So let's see here. Location info, right? Well, that probably didn't need to be capitalized, but that's fine. Next. And comments are good, but I don't feel like adding them. We kind of know what's going on. I'm not trying to preach bad conventions for any aspiring software engineers or software developers, or even for the advanced people that might be watching this. Yeah, I'm not trying to give people bad advice, like don't do comments or nothing like that. But I just don't feel like writing them. And we're still rendering the index page with the data, title, and this will be ad review. And this should be in, oh, no, that's in quotations. Yep, semicolons. And last thing we need to do is we need to export each one of the functions in this module. So each one of these functions need to be listed as exports, or else you can't access them from another file. Module, let me see, exports, equals and just home list, location info, and add review, semicolon, save. Okay, so they're probably going to have us actually test it out now. Yep. So we're going to run it. We're going to actually take a look at it. Uh-oh. We're going to expect an error to come up soon. I guess we're going to do some debugging here, but let's try running. Yeah, it crashed. Awesome. Cool. Control mean dot home list. Reference error. Control mean is not defined. Yes. So if we go back to index.js, this should be control locations. Save. Now let's see what happens. Oh, I guess I gotta reload this, right? Something's still broken. Awesome. Let's see what's broken now. Control, it's a misspelling. Home list. Because I forgot right there, the L. Sometimes the IDE or the code editor that you're using will give you little hints and clues. So you saw obviously like it was a different color. You see this is a little lighter shade of blue. This is more like a greenish blue. These are fine because they're actually being referenced here. But this one is like, okay, I don't know what this guy is. So you're going to have to tell me. And if you don't, well, it's going to throw an error. Because I'm looking for whatever name that is, but I can't find it. All right, so you got to be really particular with everything. Boom! It reloaded. I didn't even have to refresh it, as you see. So maybe that's the same error they're going to take us through in the book. Troubleshooting. Cannot find module controllers other. If you're having problems restarting the application at this point, the main thing to check is that all the files, functions, and references are named correctly. So, for instance, yep, module can't be found. File. It is basically telling us how to debug, which is essentially what we just did just now. By looking at the console, you know, it'll output a message and tell you, hey, this is where I found a problem. You know, I'm not understanding this. And then you go check it out and see what it is. And here we can tell it's just a misspelling here. We forgot the L in control. Yep. That's all. So all being well, this run should give you no errors, meaning that the routes are pointing to controllers. At this point, you can head over to your browser and check each of the 4 routes you've created, such as localhost 3000 for the home page and localhost 3000 location for the location information page. Let's do that. Let's do / location info. Wait, what? Hold on. What was the actual route for it? Let's see. What do we have here? Location. Not location information. Just put location. Boom! And you see the title change. Isn't that cool? That's cool. Well, it's only simple, but, you know, we're getting somewhere. We're getting different pages that are different URLs for our website that, okay, let's do location / review / new. Boom! Add a review page. You know, this is good progress. Little steps, baby steps. We're getting there. Let's see. We're like maybe like a 6th or a 7th away till the end of this chapter, maybe. I'm not sure. Maybe that looks like a 5th. I can't tell. Creating some views. So here we go. We're going to start doing some fun stuff. We're going to use Bootstrap. You know, brief synopsis about Bootstrap. Basically, it's like this, you know, pre-made designs, pre-made styles that everyone has access to, and they're very easy to use. You just download a file, and it's like a standard of CSS. It's like, you know, the standard reference for CSS, and it's just one sheet where you can, you know, call your classes, your IDs or whatever from, and be able to shape the different, you know, HTML elements that you have and have them react based on, you know, screen size, for example, you know, small, medium, large, extra large. And we're going to get into that. I'm actually going to take some time to go through that. I'm not just going to skip over this part because it took me some time to learn Bootstrap when I first started programming, and I think it's pretty important to learn because it's really good for this kind of prototyping that we're doing, right? It helps you get the basic design out pretty fast. Some people don't like Bootstrap because they're like, oh, I don't want my website to look like everybody else's website. If everybody's using Bootstrap, then it's going to look similar. But, you can make your own designs if you want. You can even edit what you have in Bootstrap as long as you don't break anything. But yeah, I mean, you're free to do what you want with it, but it's really good to get started with. Okay, enough chit chat. Creating some views. When you have your empty pages, paths, and routes sorted out, it's time to get some content and layout into your application. This step is where you bring the application to life and start to see your idea become reality. For this step, the technologies that you'll use are Pug and Bootstrap. Pug is the template engine you're using in Express, although you can use others if you prefer. And Bootstrap is a front-end layout framework that makes it easy to build a responsive website that looks different on desktop and mobile devices. A look at Bootstrap. Before getting started, let's take a quick look at Bootstrap. We won't go into all the details about Bootstrap and everything it can do, but it's useful for you to see some of the key concepts before you try to throw it into a template file. Bootstrap uses a 12-column grid. No matter the size of display you're using, there will always be these 12 columns. On a phone, each column is narrow, and on a large external monitor, each column is wide. The fundamental concept of Bootstrap is that you can define how many columns an element uses, and this number can be different from different screen sizes. Okay. Bootstrap has various CSS references that let you target up to 5 different pixel width breakpoints for your layouts. These breakpoints are noted in Table 4.2 along with the example device that each size targets. Cool, so this targets small devices, medium devices, large devices, extra large devices. To define the width of an element, you combine a CSS reference from Table 4.2 with the number of columns you want it to span. A class denoting a column is constructed like this. So, minimum target breakpoint. So that's small, right? And denotes that this element will act as a column. So if a device has 576 or more pixels in its total width, it's considered a small device. Or extra small devices have fewer than 576 pixels in their width, right? And so basically, you say denotes that this element will act as a column. So you'll assign this as a class, for example, to an element, and this will be a column. Say we're doing this on a divider. Right here, actually, they have an example. So column 12, number of columns to take up. So on any given device, or on extra small devices, because there's no CSS reference, maybe that's what it is. Actually, let's read it. Let's make sure I don't misconstrue anything. We'll read it. Okay, the class of column small 6 makes the elements it's applied to take up 6 columns of screen size smaller and larger on tablets, laptops, and monitors. This column will take up half the available width. So there's 12 total columns going across, going this way, basically, going horizontally, right? You got column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, until 12, right? And say 12 is at the end. They're saying that anything with a minimum target breakpoint of small, which means that a device that happens to have this amount of pixels in width, and larger, for this element, it will take up a total of 6 columns. So it'll take up half the screen real estate, no matter what size your screen is, as long as it's not an extra small device. All right, and so when you take that to this here, to get the responsive side of things to work, you can apply multiple classes to a single element. If you wanted a divider to span the entire width or the screen on phones, but only half the width on tablets and larger devices, you could use the following code snippet. So because this is empty, it's basically saying all devices. So it's starting off as extra small, but it's also including extra small and anything larger than extra small. But we also specify that anything that's of medium size and larger, we want it to only take up half the screen. So if a medium sized device was a tablet, right, it'll only take up half the screen. Same thing with laptops and external monitors. And so that's kind of how Bootstrap works here. If there's any questions about this, if anything doesn't seem clear, please let me know in the comment section. I am reading the comments. I can see you guys' messages. If you want to understand a little bit more about Bootstrap, you want me to go through this example in a little more detail. Here's a great example, a great visual of what they're talking about too.
So the column 12 class tells the layout to use 12 columns on extra small devices. And the column medium 6 class tells the layout to use 6 columns for medium devices and larger. Illustrates the effect of this class on different devices if you have two of them on the page, one after another like this. So say for example, because it only takes up half the page on medium devices or larger, it will take up half the page for the first divider that you put in, and then the second divider you put in will be on the same level. But say you have it on a smaller device where you want it to span the full 12 columns like you defined here, instead the dividers will now stack on top of each other because they're both taking up the full width of the current device. All right, so I know it seems like there's a bunch of stuff that we talked about here just for Bootstrap. Bootstrap, just having a basic understanding of it's pretty important. And so I think that I'm just gonna unplug my laptop here. Um, I think it's good that we went over it. Okay, so the pages you'll have in the application have some common requirements. At the top of each page, you'll want a navigation bar and logo. At the bottom of the page, you'll have a copyright notice in the footer, and you'll have a content area in the middle. What you're aiming for is something like Figure 4.6. This framework for a layout is simple, but it suits your needs. It provides a consistent look and feel while allowing for different layouts to go in the middle. As you saw in Chapter 3, Pug templates use the concept of extendable layouts, enabling you to define this type of repeatable structure once in a layout file. In the layout file, you can specify which parts can be extended. When you have this layout file set up, you can extend it as many times as you want. Creating the framework in a layout file means that you only have to do it once, and you can maintain it in only one place, which is awesome. We just need to create the basic structure. Sorry, let me get some water. We just need to create the basic structure of what our navigation and footer are going to look like, and it will be consistent across our entire website. We do it once, and it's consistent across the entire website, and we can change it in just one place. Okay, this is the code, I think. Nope, wait, hold up. To build the comment framework, you'll work mainly with layout.pug file in the app server views folder. The file is minimal and looks like this code snippet. It should currently look like this. So I'm going to try to compare and ensure that our layout.pug file looks like that. Because if it doesn't, then we need to make some edits to it, right? So let's do, all right, close that. Okay, pretty similar. This looks a little jumbled because it's a bunch of line breaks. It's really supposed to be on one line. This whole thing is one line, and this is like all one line. There's just some line breaks in there. But we have the same, basically, the same exact thing in the book here. There isn't any HTML content in the body area yet, only a single extendable block called content and a couple of script references. You want to keep all this but add a navigation section above the content block and a footer below it. Building the navigation. Bootstrap offers a collection of elements and classes that you can use to create a sticky navigation bar that's fixed to the top and collapses the options into a drop-down menu on mobile devices. We won't explore the details of Bootstrap CSS classes here. All you need to do is grab the example code from the Bootstrap website, tweak it a little, and update it with the correct links. In the navigation, you want to have the locator logo linking to the home page, and about link on the left pointing to the about URL page. All right, the code that does these things is in the following code snippet and can be placed into the layout.pug file above the block content line. So I'm gonna handwrite exactly what I see here, and this is literally this is where we actually start writing pug. So even though you don't see an actual element name here, this is a divider, and we're using the nav class, navbar class, fixed top. All these classes are used from Bootstrap to get the effect that we're essentially looking for. So let's get started with that. We do layout.pug, and we're looking right above the block content, they said, right? And nav.navbar dot fixed top dot. So nav is yes, nav is one of the classes. Hold on. Why is it just nav.navbar? How come this doesn't start out as just .navbar? Is that correct? We'll see. We'll see how this plays out. Oh, nav is an element. I'm stupid. I'm sorry. Nav is a kind of element. Usually, I'm used to using a divider. That's why for creating a navigation bar. But nav is HTML5 is the correct element to use for a navigation bar. Okay, so we have nav.navbar.fixtop.navbar expand MD. Okay, so we see the medium tag here again, which usually refers to tablet-sized devices are larger. So that means it will expand only if it's on a tablet or larger. And let's see, navbar light. Okay. And then an indentation here essentially just means that it is nested within whatever it's under. So navbar brand href. This is a hyperreference to following. That's locator. So if you don't understand HTML, this part might be a little difficult. If you would like to ask me any questions that you have about this, HTML in general is pretty simple, but you can also go on Codecademy if you're looking for external resources to get caught up on HTML and CSS. Codecademy is a great resource. You can use Free Code Camp, and I'm sure there are plenty of YouTube tutorials and Udemy courses or Coursera courses on this stuff as well. But I think Codecademy is pretty great because it's free for the most part. And yeah. So this is navbar, and we're going to indent yet again. This is going to be button, bar toggle, or toggler, sorry. And I know I'm flashing back and forth a lot, but I really do think it's better if I type this out. It's better for your muscle memory and just to actually feel like you're doing something, You can actually say, hey, I wrote the code in this application, even though it's a book application. And, I'm following examples from a book. It's not like you didn't write it, right? It's not original, but definitely helps you learn the skills that are being taught here. Navbar main. Cool. So that's it for that line. That's the button. And then we have data target. Oh, sorry. Wait a minute. That was the button. And then we're going to indent again. Span. Dot nav. Navbar. Toggler icon. And here we're kind of like unnesting the ID here, right? Oh no, that ID is for the navbar toggler icon, I think, because that's not really on the correct amount of indentation. I know this is very subtle and hard to notice, but you see D and N line up. Like there should be 2 spaces, not 1. And you see how it's like right in between. There's nothing else lining up with it there, or starting with it there. So that's probably part of this line right here. So we're gonna add that there. So toggler icon. Hash is how you refer to the IDs or the pound symbol, however you want to call it. Bar main. Oh. No. Main dot. Navbar collapse. Okay, span. This is a class of navbar toggler icon and an ID of navbar main and another class of navbar collapse. No, actually that looks kind of weird. Why would we go from listing classes on this span here and then listing... That's kind of confusing. Sets up collapsing navigation for smaller screen resolutions. Okay, that's fine. I don't understand where this comes into play. Why is this unaligned? I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. I'm going to assume that what I wrote was correct. Okay, this is on the same line as that A tag. So let's just keep rolling with it. I don't see why that would. How would we start writing classes, then do an ID, and then go back to writing classes for the same element? Nav bar, nav, Mr. Auto. And then I.nav item. Nope, not what I meant to do. I think it's at navlink, right? href equals about, and that's just gonna say about. Okay, let's run it real quick and like see if it actually works. Everything loaded. So we're gonna go to our home page. It should follow the following conventions. Okay. It's kind of right, I think.
I don't know if the title's supposed to be in the, you know,
So far forward like that, but let's see if it collapses. Kind of collapses. Something's missing. Something's wonky about this. And I think it has something to do with that ID there. 'Cause I just don't understand why. Let's try refreshing it. I don't know. Okay, something changed for sure. It's a little funkier looking. Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing here. Let's copy this real quick and let's paste it down here and see what it looks like. Yeah, but see, this has to go up here, right? Because it's all in the same line. I don't see why it would be. And this should be spaced. Confusing. Yes. So what I'm going to do, Control KC. That's just going to comment everything out. Control X. Put that under that. Control V. I don't know why the alignment for that messed up. These should be under that. We run into little stuff like this that like hangs us up, and it does suck. It does. This maybe looks a little more appropriate, but it still looks weird. Like, what is this? Kind of makes me want to just download the code and see what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Redo that. Okay. We'll leave it like this for now, and we're just going to keep moving forward. Did I close that? What? I didn't realize I closed this. Okay.
all right, it's almost 7. Been streaming for an hour. We didn't make a lot of progress though, so I think I'm gonna keep going. But for those watching, let me know how you feel. If this is losing you, I can always cut the stream early. I don't mind. Or if you're not really following too much, slow day's a slow day. I'm still gonna stream, but maybe just not for as long. You know what I'm saying? That way, if there happens to be more people joining on the next stream, they're not like too far behind. You get. At the same time, though, I don't want to cancel today's stream just because there's not a great turnout. So, where were we? We were doing Pug, making some progress with Pug.
Here we were. Okay. Overlays the paginating. You'll fix this problem behind the layouts for. So we'll end up fixing it. Doesn't include any HTML tags. Yep. Correct indication. Indentation is important. Okay. Working down the page from top to bottom, the next area is the content block. You don't have much to do with this block as other Pug files decide the contents. As it stands, though the content block is anchored to the left margin and unconstrained, meaning that it stretches it the full width of any device. Addressing this situation is easy with Bootstrap. Still, in layout.pug, wrap the content block in a container div like so, remembering to ensure that the indentation is correct. Okay, so they want us to wrap block content in a container divider. So we're gonna indent that and say dot container. Boom. Problem solved. Right? Or at least I think so. Looks somewhat right, I think. Okay. The div with a class of container is centered in the window and constrained to sensible maximum widths on large displays. The contents of a container div remains aligned to the left as normal though. Adding the footer. Okay. This code is placed inside the container div that holds the content block. So when you add it, make sure that the footer line is at the same level of indentation as the block content line. Okay, so this is going to go at the same level, like so. And this is just going to say footer dot, or actually, why are we, okay, yeah, that makes sense actually, sorry. Dot row, dot column 12, so it's going to span the whole width of any device. And this is going to say, so this ampersand copy is just in WebDev. It's a way to get specific characters that are not available on your keyboard. So it's going to show the little copyright symbol, you know, a little C that's inside of a circle. So, no! We're going to put my name instead. Or maybe I shouldn't be putting my name on this, but yeah, let's pretend we didn't see that. Simon Holmes in Clive Harbor 2018. Cool. All right. So this code is placed inside the container div that holds the content block. So when you add it, make sure that the footer line is at the same level of indentation as the block content line. All together now. Now that a navigation bar, content area, and footer have been dealt with, you have the completed layout file. The full code for the layout.pug is shown in the following listing. So I can see, there we go. That's how it's supposed to look, and that's why we're getting issues. So it's actually at the same level as the A tag. We did not have it like that before, though. Hold up. So as you can see here, boom, indent, back up. And so, let me see, button, and then these are going to follow underneath. Here we go. Here we go. That should be accurate. Now let's see what it looks like. Nope. It did not fix our problem. What is this? Like, why am I not seeing what I'm supposed to be seeing? Well, you see the little copyright symbol, right? That's there. That's what we were looking for. Let me make sure everything else about this is correct before we move forward, because it would suck if we moved forward and there's a bunch of errors in our code that didn't match up. At least we have this book as a reference for what it should look like, you know? So right under button is span. Span is indented under button. And we have here ID nav bar main. Continues. Let's leave some space just for cleanliness. Container.content. That's at the same level as nav under body. So container dot content. We have block content. Footers at the same level as block content. We'll leave some space there too. And well, according to what they told us to do, I don't know, maybe if the latest version of Bootstrap is different from what they were using. Maybe that's the reason why we're facing some of these issues. Um, that could be the issue here. I would think that would make sense. That we just have a different version of Bootstrap here. Okay, that's all it takes. Yeah, see, look, this is what they're expecting to see. We have something completely different. And I think it's probably because we have a different version of Bootstrap. I mean, this book's getting outdated, man. See how quick the world of technology moves? It's already finito. This stuff is already, just slight changes they made to Bootstrap, and we have like vastly different results. This looks kind of ugly compared to that, where everything's aligned correctly. Okay. Now that the generic template is complete, it's time to start building the actual pages of your application. Building a template. When you're building templates, start with whichever one makes the most sense to you. This template may be the most complicated or the simplest, or the first in the main user journey. For Locator, a good place to start is the home page, which is the example we'll go through in the most detail. All right, so we're gonna actually start building out the home page, which can look like statically, and then later on, towards the end of this chapter, we're gonna start building out the data from those views. So it's gonna be hard-coded data for now, and we're gonna start pushing it towards the controllers. So the controllers are feeding the data to the views. It'll make more sense when we get to it, but for now, primary aim for the home page is to display a list of locations. Each location needs to have a name, an address, the distance away from the user ratings, and a facilities list. You also want to add a header to the page and some text to put the list in context so that users know what they're looking at when they visit. You may find it useful, as we do, to sketch a layout or two on a piece of paper or a whiteboard. We find this sketch helpful for creating a starting point for the layout, making sure that we've got all the pieces we need on a page without getting bogged down in the technicalities of code. Figure 4.8 shows what you might sketch for the homepage of Locator. I took this same approach when I was doing my own website that I wanted to do. I drew it out on whiteboards, I drew it out on paper before I started coding it, and I can't, stress how much easier it made the job for me. I mean, it really did help out to have like an actual visual sketch of the layout that I wanted. And it's just a little simple stuff like that. Some of you might have already known that, and you've been like, oh well, no duh, you should have been writing or drawing out what you wanted to create in code before you tried coding it. But it's helpful for some people to know this stuff. And so yeah. Let me see here. We're like about a third of the way down. I'm actually gonna stop it here. I think 6 to 7 feels pretty good. I'm not feeling down per se, but like I'm not feeling super motivated to go another half an hour through this content. If you guys want me to, I will definitely do it. But I think right now this is a good time to call it. I think this is a good bookmark here. We got the layout set up. And we have the routing for different pages. So we have the framework set up for our next stage, which is actually creating what the home page will look like. And here we have the drawing of it, but next we're going to actually be doing it. We're going to actually be, creating it and creating what these look like. And this is just some of the code for it. This is going to be what we create next. It's a larger version of it, bigger page. And this is what it'll end up looking like. Yeah, and that's what we're going to be doing next. But I think right now it's a good time to call it. Feeling kind of tired. So, yeah, I will catch you guys on Thursday. If you want to see how this turns out, we're at about right here, I'm going to say. Yep. And so we'll pick off where we left off. And it's about a third of this chapter. So I predict that the next 2 streams will be done with chapter 4, and then we'll start learning MongoDB. So that'll probably be next Thursday. And if it's not by next Thursday we start working on chapter 5, then probably the following Tuesday. All right. Well, I appreciate everyone for watching and showing support. If you're interested in this content and you want to follow along with me, the code will be on the Google Drive. I'll go and put the latest version of it on there. If you want to rewatch this, it's going to be on the YouTube. The YouTube is there's a link for it on the Twitch channel, and you can also watch the replay on the Twitch channel as well. I usually make clips. I haven't made any clips recently. Yeah, of course, no doubt. I mean, listen, if you enjoy this content, I appreciate that you said thank you. I know that sounds funny, but I'm just glad to know that there are people watching and that they enjoy the content, because it helps me out too. This is helping me actually get through this book, start to finish, and the fact that I've made this much progress in just a couple of streams. I think this is great. Even if the viewer count is not like tremendous or nothing like that, this is awesome. The fact that I have 3 consistent viewers and that I'm getting through this content, the knowledge that I get from finishing this book, I feel like will help propel me to the next stages, creating my own project, so on and so forth. But yeah, the code will be available on the Google Drive link. There's a little keyboard symbol. It should be in the info or about section on this stream. And you guys should have access to that. Or, if you also want to buy the book, you can buy it at 40% discount. I think after the discount, you get, if you want the physical copy of the book, you get a physical copy and the online editions of the book, which you could use through Google Play Store and Amazon Kindle as well. And you can get the PDF as well. All of that with a physical copy for like $30 after the discount. If you wanted just a digital copy, I'm sure it comes up to like $20 or something. But yeah, either way, I'm going to put the code. It's going to be available to you guys, so check that out if you want to download it. And yeah, I'll catch you guys next on Thursday in 2 days. All right. Appreciate you.